There's this one sentence I hear from business leaders, like all the time. And on the surface, it sounds totally reasonable. It sounds final. But I'm telling you, it might just be the most expensive thing you'll ever say about your business. So, let's get into it.
Yeah? Sound familiar? You went out, you bought the tool, gave it a whirl, and it just didn't deliver that magic you were hoping for. So you moved on, right? Case closed. But here's the thing. What if that wasn't the end of this story? What if that was actually just chapter one of a really expensive mistake?
I mean, think about it. While you were shutting the door on AI, your competitors, they were just getting warmed up. This one belief, this idea that one failed attempt means it's over for good, it's costing businesses way, way more than they could ever imagine.
Okay, so let's really tear this myth apart. Because if you get this, you'll get why your competitors are pulling ahead. And spoiler alert, it's not because they found some secret magical AI tool you missed. Nope, it's because they think about failure in a totally different way.
And this is the part that might be a little tough to hear. The companies that are absolutely crushing it with AI right now, they're not the ones who nailed it on the first go, not even close. They're the ones who failed 3, 5, even 8 times and just kept going. They saw every failure not as a stop sign, but as a lesson. That's why they're winning.
So why is sticking with it so important? Well, let me put it this way. If your first attempt with AI was a flop, hey, congratulations, you're in the club. You're not an outlier. You are completely 100% normal. And the data on this, it's kind of mind-blowing. Just look at this number right here, 95%. Research from MIT found that a whopping 95% of AI pilot programs just don't deliver that quick revenue boost everyone's looking for. So that feeling of, this AI thing didn't work for us, that's pretty much the default experience. The real question was never, will we fail? It was always, what do we do after we fail?
And it gets even crazier. We're talking almost half of all proof-of-concept projects, the ones that are supposed to show it works, never even see the light of day in production. And get this, 42% of companies have just thrown out most of their AI projects altogether. So let's be clear, failure isn't the exception here. It's pretty much the rule.
Okay, so if basically everyone fails at first, what's the secret sauce for that tiny 5% who actually make it work? What separates them from the 95% who just throw in the towel? It's not about being lucky, it's not about finding some perfect tool, it all comes down to their approach.
All right, check this out, because this is where it gets really interesting. If you try to do this all yourself, the DIY approach, you've got maybe a 33% shot, a 1 in 3 chance. But look what happens when you bring in specialists who actually know what they're doing. The success rate skyrockets to 67%. It literally more than doubles. That's not just a small bump, it's a completely different ballgame.
And this right here really paints the picture, doesn't it? On the left, that's probably your failed attempt. You bought a tool, tossed it to the team, and kind of hoped for magic. On the right, though, that's your competitor's journey. They tried stuff, it didn't work. They tried something else, it didn't work. And then, here's the key part, they brought in specialists to design a real workflow. It's a totally different mindset.
And this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. Most of these AI failures, they aren't actually AI failures. They are implementation failures. The tech itself, probably totally fine. The real problem was the strategy, or lack of one, the messy data you fed it, the fact that it wasn't connected to how your team actually gets work done. Yep, these are the usual suspects, right? It's like you bought a super-powered hammer but had no idea which nail you were supposed to hit. Or you tried to power it with garbage data. Or maybe you tried to automate something really complex and creative instead of a simple, repetitive task. These are classic mistakes, but here's the good news, every single one of them is fixable. All right, enough with the theory, let's get real. Talk is cheap, right? So let's look at a real-world case study. A company that was right where you are. They tried it once, it bombed, but then they decided to give it another shot, the smart way. So this B2B marketing consultancy is the perfect story. Their first attempt? Textbook failure. Bought a tool off the shelf, give the team basically zero training, and pulled the plug after 6 weeks. Their big takeaway? AI just isn't for us. But then look at round 2. It's a whole different playbook. They brought in experts. They actually mapped out their workflows. And the result? They started saving 8 to 10 hours per employee every single week. That's huge. And what does that mean for the bottom line? Let's talk business impact. All that time they saved, it translated directly into a 20% jump in their billable capacity. Think about that.
They could take on more clients, make more money, all without adding a single person to the payroll. That is the power of getting it right on the second try.
So, the big takeaway here is that your first failure isn't a dead end, not at all. It's actually valuable intel. And now, we're going to turn that lesson into a practical plan, a way for you to stage your own comeback, starting right now. It's a simple 4-week plan. Week 1, you do a failure autopsy. Figure out what really went wrong. Week 2, you get a strategic assessment from someone who knows this stuff. Week 3, you launch the right kind of pilot, small and smart. And by week 4, you're not guessing anymore. You're making a real, data-driven decision about how to scale.
And as you're thinking about that pilot, here's a crucial piece of advice. Don't try to solve all your problems at once. You want to aim for something that's high impact but low complexity. Projects like that, they see an ROI that's almost 3 times higher. The mantra is, start smart, then scale big.
And honestly, this quote from Ramana Bavaraju just nails it. The AI rollouts failed not because the models are bad, but because they never get embedded into real workflows. It's so true. The tech is really the issue. The failure happens when you treat AI like a science fair project instead of weaving it into the very fabric of how your business runs. It has to be part of the flow to create value.
So it all comes down to this one last, really important question. Your competitor, they chose to push through failure number 8 instead of quitting after failure number 1. They learned, they adapted, they got help, and now they're ahead. You're standing at the crossroads of failure number 1. So, what are you going to choose?